Hi, I'm Dongxiong. Welcome to Digging into China, where we explore China in depth to review unique perspectives. Today, I will discuss a defining feature of the Chinese Communist Party's political governance, the rule of the section chiefs. Grasping this concept unlocks the fundamental logic of Chinese politics. To put it simply, for any policy to be effectively implemented in China, it must serve the interests of the vast network of section chiefs. Policies that benefit them are executed with unwavering commitment, often amplified at each level of administration. Conversely, those that harm their interests are quietly ignored, left to gather dust. This dynamic is what we call the rule of the section chiefs. This distinctly Chinese political mechanism has deep historical roots and remains a hallmark of the current regime. From the establishment of the unified Han Dynasty by Liu Bang through the end of the Qing Dynasty, China's grassroots governance relied on a model known as the rule of the clerks. In imperial China, the lowest level of state-funded officials was the county magistrate. Below them, clerks received no central funding, and their numbers depended on the magistrate's ability to generate local revenue. A solitary magistrate could not possibly govern alone. Collecting taxes, adjudicating disputes, maintaining order, or apprehending criminals required assistance. Thus, magistrates established an intricate system of clerks to handle these tasks. These clerks held no official rank within the imperial bureaucracy and were, by design, temporary workers with no state salary. Their income came from an array of local surcharges and miscellaneous taxes, including levies on land, homes, shops, boats, salt, rice, military supplies, checkpoints, dikes, timber, reeds, and more. According to Professor Cheng Feng's research in Relief or Crisis, a study of miscellaneous taxes in the late Qing, the Qing Dynasty imposed 733 types of miscellaneous taxes and 1,545 surcharges, totaling 2,278 distinct levies. These myriad fees sustained a vast clerk network, forming the backbone of grassroots governance. Yet, a deeper political truth must be understood. The current magistrate was in fact a true temporary worker, serving terms of just 3 to 5 years before being reassigned. Since the Song Dynasty, the imperial court enforced a strict rotation policy to prevent officials from establishing local power bases that could challenge central authority. The current communist regime has fully adopted this rotation system, leaving local officials with little connection to the areas they govern. Unable to initiate long-term projects like irrigation systems, which could take 5 to 10 years to complete, magistrates focused on maintaining stability and navigating their brief tenures. In contrast, the clerks, despite their temporary status, held lifelong positions in local government offices. This gave rise to the saying, "Iron clerks, flowing magistrates." Clerks withheld true grassroots authority, collaborating with local elites to undertake projects like irrigation or community improvements. By the late Qing Dynasty, counties employed anywhere from 500 to over 1,000 clerks, handling everything from tax collection and public orders to infrastructure repairs. They controlled essential political resources and possessed genuine local influence. Without their cooperation, a newly appointed magistrate was merely a figurehead. By the late Qing Dynasty, this system had evolved into a new grassroots political order. Magistrates secluded themselves in their offices, serving as ceremonial figures who collected bribes during holidays while awaiting promotion. Meanwhile, clerks managed the daily operations, holding real power. Over time, the central government's formal tax revenue was overshadowed by local surcharges, amounting to less than a third of the local collections. As the chain weakened, formal taxes became harder to collect and tax arrears grew common. However, local taxes tied to clerks' livelihood were non-negotiable. To the public, the distant imperial court or aloof magistrate paled in comparison to the clerks they saw daily, clerks who delivered the results. Thus, while imperial taxes could be evaded, local taxes took priority, giving rise to the proverb, "The county magistrate is no match for the one standing before you." Today, the current regime, learning from the Qing's collapse, has incorporated all grassroots government workers into the state payroll as public servants. Yet, the core issue isn't whether these workers are state-funded. They would find ways to secure income regardless. The real question is, who is closest to the people's daily lives? Civil servants with lifelong tenure, working directly with the public, hold the true reins of grassroots power. As of late 2023, the regime's public servants, categorized in statistical yearbooks under Public Management, Social Security, and Social Organizations, numbered 19.86 million. This excludes employees of state-owned enterprises or public institutions like schools and hospitals. Including those, the total approaches 80 million. Among them, top-tier provincial and ministerial officials number just over 3,000. Senior bureau-level officials around 50,000, and the mid-level county officials about 800,000. The largest group, however, is the section-level cadres, including deputy section chiefs, totaling roughly 5 million. These section chiefs are the most accessible bureaucrats, encountered regularly by ordinary citizens. Even across a population of 1.4 billion, these 5 million section chiefs form a powerful force. Most crucially, they serve lifelong terms in their posts, often remaining in the same unit for decades. Only 16 out of every 100 section chiefs are likely to be promoted to division chief. Once promoted, they lose lifelong tenure due to strict rotation policies. Division chiefs are reassigned every 2 terms, and the bureau-level officials every term. In essence, officials above the section level are the true temporary workers, while section chiefs hold entrenched positions. Over time, this has created a large cohort of section chiefs aged 40 to 50 with extensive experience and deep networks of colleagues in related fields. These relationships naturally form stable alliances of shared interests. Central government decisions pass through ministers, bureau chiefs, and division chiefs before reaching section chiefs, who interpret and implement them, shaping their impact on daily life. The critical point is that section chiefs' alliances interpret the central directives through the lens of their own interests. Policies that benefit them are enforced with added vigor, while those that threaten their interests are quietly sidelined. This is the heart of the rule of the section chiefs. The 3 years of COVID policies offer a clear example. Section chiefs quickly recognized that using COVID controls to encroach on public rights was an unprecedented opportunity for profit. They devised countless rules that led to immense financial gains. For instance, in February 2020, section chiefs in Hangzhou introduced the health code system. Red codes mandated centralized quarantine. Yellow codes required home isolation. Both involved massive logistic mobilizing funds in the hundreds of billions. Section chiefs profited handsomely. During those years, the most lucrative businesses were quarantine hotel and food delivery for the isolated, with the profit margins so high they defied imagination. Whenever quarantine hotels had vacancies, section chiefs could generate new red codes unchecked by any oversight. Similarly, policies like the 2015 environmental crackdowns and the property de-stocking campaign perfectly aligned with section chiefs' interests. The environmental policy gave them authority to determine whether businesses met standards, granting them unchecked power to shut down companies that didn't pay enough bribes. The de-stocking policy provided a pretext to favor real estate firms, creating endless opportunities for rent seeking during construction approvals. These policies were enforced with absolute rigor. Conversely, policies that harm section chiefs' collective interests never succeed. Since 2018, efforts to reduce ineffective infrastructure projects and curb local debt have been loudly promoted, with the central government even ordering a halt to disciplinary actions in 12 provinces. But these measures were futile. Infrastructure projects are the largest income source for grassroots officials, with over 90% of section chiefs tied to profits from procurement, bidding, and settlements. Halting any project triggers a fierce resistance, and stopping disciplinary actions across 12 provinces provoked outright rebellion from section chiefs. By late 2024, China's local fiscal system faced a cascade of defaults. Section chiefs had previously managed to keep things afloat by shifting funds around, but when the central government cut their financial lifelines, the system collapsed. In response, the government launched a 12 trillion yuan debt resolution plan. Essentially, the central bank printed 12 trillion yuan to cover local debts. Through collective resistance, section chiefs forced this massive intervention, and the central government dared not issue public criticism. That's the power of the section chiefs. This brings us to a recent controversy, the uproar over pre-made dishes sparked by Xibei restaurant. The central government has heavily promoted pre-made dishes, but the section chiefs at the grassroots level are directly affected. Local canteens offer no special menus, and when section chiefs and their families dine out, they encounter Chinese-style pre-made dishes at places like Xibei restaurants. To clarify, Chinese pre-made dishes differ from those in Europe, America, Japan, or Korea, where they are sold in convenience stores or budget eateries with a shelf life of 1 to 3 days, no preservatives, and a clear labeling with unsold stock discarded. In contrast, Chinese pre-made dishes are laden with preservatives, flavor enhancers, water-retaining agents, leavening agents, aroma enhancers, coloring agents, tenderizers, thickeners, coagulants, and more. A pound of meat can be coated with 3 pounds of chemicals, unregulated and undisclosed, even in high-end restaurants. Section chiefs, especially those dining at a Xibei restaurant, whose primary customers are civil servant families, are outraged. This explains why the Xibei controversy has persisted, growing louder without government suppression, as critical voices are allowed to spread. Xibei restaurant is preparing for a 2026 IPO, targeting a valuation exceeding 100 billion yuan, backed by powerful elites who could typically quash negative publicity. But this time, they've met the section chief's anger and can only watch as the situation spirals. Xibei restaurant's reputation is now irreparably damaged. The section chief's frustration with pre-made dishes has erupted through the Xibei scandal. Beyond the Xibei, companies like Shanghai Lujie, a school catering supplier, assumed elite backing would protect them as they served expired pre-made dishes to school children. Many of those children's parents are section chiefs, whose anger is uncontainable. Xibei restaurant and Shanghai Lujie are likely finished, as no elite can withstand the collective fury of section chiefs. As a result, China's pre-made dish industry will face demands for transparency. Built on secrecy and deception, it will likely collapse once exposed. This is the nature of Chinese political dynamics. Understanding the rule of the section chief is the key to understanding China itself. Thank you so much for watching. If you find this video helpful, please like it, drop a comment below, and hit the subscribe button right here. It really helps YouTube suggest my videos to others. I'll be back with more content soon. Until then, be well.